The next mind power is tranquil abiding. This is a power of the mind, a power of being that is very important. If I can achieve concentration, the next thing I'd like to do is tranquilly abide. It is not non-conceptual. There is a big confusion in the world of meditation that when I sit like this and I'm just relaxed and I attain that real peaceful, easy feeling, that blissful feeling, and I get a white haze going on, you know, the God realm white haze goes on or something. You see some white sometimes. But if I sit like this or whatever with my hands, I'm just demonstrating something. You can sit any way you want. But I'm tranquil abiding, you know. Tranquil abiding is not essence mind, okay? It is an expression of essence mind, but it's not the full essence mind. It's not the full enlightenment experience. There are many, many people that I've met personally, even teachers of whole schools that I've met, usually self-created masters who are out there teaching, who simply had tranquil abiding experience. It feels all pervasive. It feels like it covers the universe. It's a blissful, sweet feeling, right? Easeful, blissful, sweet feeling. It is an aspect of your being, no doubt. It is an aspect of your essence, no doubt. It is not the totality of your essence. It's where the quiet part of your essence comes to the foreground and the dynamism and Shakti goes to the background. But still they're really one. It's still one painting, okay? Don't get me wrong. They're not really separate. But we are actually giving attention to the quiet part. And people misunderstand this as enlightened mind or essence mind, essence experience, enlightened experience. But tranquil abiding that I'm describing here is a very important step. But we must know the difference between it and enlightenment. Enlightenment has dynamism. It has an edge as well as an open spaciousness. And there's a seamless unity between them that allows for spontaneous and dynamic activity. So, first point is on tranquil abiding, I don't want us to confuse the tranquil abiding experience with enlightenment experiences. In the worst case scenario, when we get that experience, we start to think, wow, this is amazing. And then subtly, very subtly, we grasp it. We think, oh, this is enlightenment. Ah, this is it, tranquil abiding. Then I walk around like this all the time now. And I talked about my experience. This experience changed me forever. I entered into the bliss or the spacious void. And now I talk like this all the time. And I'm sort of dead, even though I appear to be alive. It's really weird. And you see lots of cult leaders and meditation group people talk like this, and then they can't move quickly. It's impossible to move quickly now because I'm a robot of tranquil abiding. I find it really funny. I like making fun of it because it's fun. So, you know, it's not enlightenment, okay? It's cheesy. When you grasp onto it, it's cheesy. It comes off really cheesy. And then people spin books and courses for years out of the same state of tranquil abiding, trying to convince everybody they've had this great breakthrough. But actually, there's nothing going on but tranquil abiding. It's a very important mind power. We have to know how to touch that place. We have to know how to rest our mind in that. But we must know that that's a form of the mind. That's a form of energy. We're having a form. It is an object. It's a very subtle object within our consciousness. It's a subtle, pervasive object of bliss and tranquility. Now, most of us would trade discursive mind in a heartbeat for that, right? We'd want that form. And I do too. It's great. Tranquil abiding is great. You have to know how to access that part of yourself really easy. And just let it come on and just sit in it for an hour or two. And, you know, this is one you want to do for more than 5 minutes. So after concentration skills, whatever levels you apply and integration through second attention is achieved, usually we move to tranquil abiding in the acquisition of mind powers. We want that stability, that base, to touch into a sweetness that's all pervasive and never leaves. Okay? But don't let it take you over like the cult leaders I was describing who are kind of funny. When they start to look at you all the time like this. They don't blink a lot. There's a few characteristics of these cults, right? And some are very well-meaning cults. I mean, they're not trying to manipulate people. Well, some are. But some people just don't know the difference. Why? Because they didn't have a guru. They don't come from a long tradition that can help them through satarka. Satarka is so important. The ability to critically know the difference between enlightened states and other states that appear to be like enlightened states. This is really important, satarka. So without that, they think, wow, I've hit it. You know what I mean? So one of the traits of a person who gets stuck in that kind of thing, in case it's you, we can diagnose ourselves, right? We tend to not blink a lot. We don't want to blink. We just keep staring and talking like this. And we get this kind of, You know, like you're looking like you're brainwashed, like your Stepford wives, there's nobody home or something, you know, body snatchers. And you talk like this and you just look into the camera and you tell everyone about this great peaceful experience you had which changed me forever. You too can have it. You too can rest with the one like me. You know, that kind of thing. And you talk in this weird kind of California ease, really slow, kind of stupid voice, and, you know, which, you know, trances everyone out. It's called entrainment. So what's happening there is actually called entrainment. And it's very well studied by the CIA, NSA, and everybody has to learn it in those groups, you know. And these people are good at it without even realizing it. What they're doing is entraining you into, by not blinking, it does something neurologic, you start following along, you start to not blink. And not blinking changes your brainwave patterns. So if you don't blink and someone's talking to you in those little sweet lovey kind of voices, very slow, like a lullaby, boom, you're going into trance. Next thing you know, you're having an experience like, I've never had this meditation experience before. It's unbelievable. I'm enlightened. She's my guru. She's so enlightened. You know, and basically it's just a kind of trick. I hate to say it. It's like a trick. So we want something different. We want the enlightenment of the Mahasiddhas, a cutting-edge experience of enlightenment that's bristling with power, vibrancy, clarity, able to tranquilly abide, able to dynamically express in any moment without a break in our essence experience. This is enlightenment. Enlightenment in action, right? So tranquil abiding is a necessary step for that. For tranquil abiding, simply, you can basically just sit any way you want, a chair or cross-legged or whatever. Your hands can be whatever way you want, you know. And just relax. Let your mind, let your eyes be like on the horizon, slightly below or slightly above. Here I'm looking out. Last time we had that big rainstorm, right? Now we're back in the temple again. I'm looking out at the beautiful mountains. And I can just look out at the horizon, just slightly above the horizon, and relax. My tongue can just gently touch the roof of my mouth. My lips are slightly apart. Eyes are slightly open, slightly closed, you know, halfway. Keep your posture straight. Be aware of your whole body. And you just relax every tension of body, speech, and mind that's not necessary to hold you up and help you look out. That's it. And if you relax, if you're successful at relaxing every tension of the body, I don't need to hold this position. Every tension of my emotion and energy, I don't need to be in this position and look at a mountain. I mean, I don't need to feel anything to look at a mountain, anything special. I can just look at the mountain, the ridge line there. I don't need to think anything at all. I don't need any thinking. I can just look in the direction of the mountain and just be, right? Next thing you know, if you're successful, it's very sweet, right? It's very soft, it's very pervasive. And I want to stay here forever. So that feels like that, doesn't it? You just want to stay there forever. It's so amazing. That's why it gets such a high rating in meditation schools, and we can confuse it for enlightenment. As soon as we confuse it for enlightenment and our mind grasps it as such, we immediately locate ourselves in the limited aspect of the God realm. Yeah? You know, the God realm fixation of the 6 realms. We immediately get lost in that place thinking we're special and we've attained something, and we get imbalanced and we lose our basic sanity and our grounding in the real path. But tranquil abiding is that simple. If you can relax all the excess of body effort, speech or energy effort, emotion, and mind effort, it's right there. It's your natural state. It's right underneath. Okay? That's number 2, tranquil abiding. Many schools teach it really well. 3, psychic capacities. Oh, this is a big one, right? So sometimes the Shakti-Shaiva Dharma schools and sometimes the Tibetan schools, but more the Indian Shakti-Shaiva Dharma schools get bonked on the head for this. People in the meditation world tend to think of the Indian traditions now, that are practiced now, as lower than the Indian traditions like Buddhism or something like that, because sometimes there's an emphasis on developing psychic capacities. I'm here to champion the psychic capacity development for the person who has it in their personality display, in their destiny, okay? Because it's a very important part of your fullness of being if that's who you are. When you meditate, if you have this in your fate, in your karma, to develop these capacities, they are going to arise, without a doubt. It's so often the fact that tantrikas who practice Kundalini Yoga are fated to have these kind of so-called paranormal, which are really normal experiences. They're fated to have them so much that there's a majority of textual discussions and guru's disciple discussions that will center around, don't get fixated on these powers. Observe them like fruits on a tree that are flowering in the spring, and then just let it go. But no one's saying ignore it, chop it down, you know, in our tradition. So because of that, and sometimes also we say develop them, because they can show you things about yourself. They can show you, teach you about yourself, about the universe. Many times I've heard a lot of other traditions put down the Shakta Shaiva Dharma, non-dual Shakta Shaiva Dharma traditions of India because of this reason. And I think it's unfair criticism, to be honest, because you know, someone like myself who has basically a big leaning towards mysticism and occult practices because of a lot of eighth house energy and so on in my karma and my destiny, it was very important for me to understand what was happening, because this was happening naturally to me. These capacities were born there. Some of us have these born there. And it was very wonderful for me to meet a person who said, oh, don't worry about that. That's just blah, 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 and explain it so easily to me. And, oh, I could relax. And in fact, they would say, that's a psychic capacity that comes from this kind of exercise you've been doing or from birth. And here, you can refine it and it'll show you about yourself and the nature of the world. Oh, really? Okay, I'm not crazy. And I'm not wasting my time on spiritual exercises that aren't going to get me to enlightenment. If properly cultivated, psychic capacities are part of your destiny, that's part of your path, obviously that's going to bring you towards enlightenment. Help you understand the world better. There are many types of psychic capacities. In this I would put the full range. To say that dream yoga didn't change my life would be crazy. Practicing dream yoga, learning that I could be conscious in a state other than waking was amazing. Conscious and active in a state other than waking. Astral projection, amazing. Knowing for sure that I exist after my body dies was confirmed by astral projection. Right? Or like Swamiji, how would you feel? Imagine the faith you would have, the understanding of reality that you would have if you had the capacity of Swamiji, of like my guru, who laid down one day at the ashram, had people guard his body, and he had other students from the ashram go down to the smashana, the cremation ground down by the Ganga. He said, stay down there and I'll call you. He left that body that was on the ground. He went into a little kid's body that was being brought into the cremation ground. The kid was dead already. I think it was like 15 years old or something. And he made it sit up, waved to the disciples, said, hi, I'm Swami Satyananda. The little kid's body said this in the little kid's voice. The kid was dead. So he animated his body. The parents were like, wah, you know. Anyway, he gave a short discourse to the students and said, I'm going to go back. No, you go back. I just want to prove to you that you're not your body only. That your consciousness is something that is all pervasive, that can use the body and not use the body. You know, that's connection to the body for sure. I'm not trying to unground you with this talk, but if you had that psychic capacity, that siddhi, wouldn't that change your experience of life? Wouldn't it? You'd have very little doubts left. You'd be so powerful like my guru. He was so powerful. He had a trishul, he had a trident on his forehead here. He had a line here, a line up the middle, one across here. His nose was like this. He was such a Shaivite. So powerful. But naturally powerful. Because he had touched this essence part of himself. He had these psychic capacities from practices he performed. And he knew the nature of the universe, that he was more than what appears to be. Yeah? These would change us. So I am a fan of the psychic capacities, and that they can expand our belief and suspend our disbelief long enough that we may be able to experience our true nature. And of course, it may be practical for you. It worked for me, being a doctor for a long time, to be able to not have x-ray and need x-ray all the time, you know, to be able to look into someone's body and go, yeah, that's okay, and take the pulse, you know, and you can follow the pulse into the body. So psychic capacities have uses too, of course. Why would they have developed these things in the ancient world and spent so much time on these capacities, right? Clairvoyance, clairaudience, all these kind of things have their place. True? So psychic capacities are something not to be, I think, poo-pooed and underrated, but can be an essential part of the path for some people. Yeah, for some people. If there's not part of your path essentially, and you're just fantasizing in an immature sense of wanting to have the powers of a comic strip hero, you know, like some Spider-Man super senses, you know. That's a weakness that we have by feeling underpowered as an individual, and then we get into fantasy and we pursue meditational practices or psychic development to try to feel powerful. That's not a great way to go. That's a bad way to go. It's kind of a dead end. So if that can be transformed into something better, great. If it's not part of your destiny, though, you shouldn't even chase it, I think. You should just meditate and be a good person and enjoy enlightenment as it is. But anyway, it is in a full spectrum discussion of mind powers, it's extremely important. And of course, the psychic capacities are developed in Tantra through many different things, but Shaktipata tends to wake them up. They seem to be like latent kernels of corn, you know, seeds. And you receive the Shaktipata, you connect to the Guru, you connect at a teaching or a practice session, and boom, it seems to just start to open up. But we have techniques that we can do, meditational techniques, where we can enhance that experience, of course, and also wake it up. So sometimes in the ancient talk on Tantra, like Aushadhi, the use of drugs was used to wake up these capacities in the old days. I don't think that's the best way to go, though, because you don't have very much control over these experiences. I really don't, as you know, recommend drug use pretty much at all for beginners, people who don't have basic sanity. I can see the understanding the use that MDMA or LSD or mushrooms could be really crucial to expand a person whose mind is too tight, you know, like the engineer mind, if I call it, you know. Steve Jobs, I was just reading something recently where he said he never could have developed anything he did in Apple if it wasn't for him doing mushrooms and LSD. Did you guys read that? That's a big say. So you see the application. If you're too tight, really too tight, like, you know, Don Juan and Carlos Castaneda, of course, then this is a really great use, but it shouldn't be habitual. It should open you up and then learn to use it, right? The inner capacity, learn to use that. So, but we'd like to develop the psychic capacities on our own volition, so we can turn them on and off as a switch when we want to, all right? So there's a lot said about that in the meditation paths. The psychic capacities developed usually the fastest way, the usual way in Tantric Kundalini Yoga that we practice here in Garangi Kula is through the chakra sadhanas. Chakra sadhanas are very powerful for psychic capacity development. If we do the chakra shuddhi first, along with our Adi Yoga, this is the importance of Adi Yoga. Psychic capacities without Adi Yoga, you're going to get in trouble. It's going to ruin your health. It's going to make you go a little crazy. I've met many full-on psychics who are the real deal, very authentic psychics, who never practiced anything like Adi Yoga or Kriya Yoga, and what happens is they have no lineage, they're just psychic, and they're out there doing psychic readings. They always go loopy. Their bodies always get unhealthy because it doesn't work. You need a cohesive system. The body, speech, and mind gets separated through that kind of activity, right? Classically, it's an older woman who's kind of fat, kind of really toxic, giving great readings, you know, but like really going down quick physically. I've seen it over and over. Sometimes guys too, but a lot of ladies. So what we want is an Adi Yoga approach to life if we have these capacities. If you have a lot of things going on, the 5th house, 8th house, and spiritual qualities of the 12th, not just the mundane qualities. And the 9th, you might want to, especially in the 1st, you might want to really, in your astrology, really look at the Adi Yoga. It might be very important for you, because the Adi Yoga is going to set up the basis of the energetic awakening of the body and the channel system, so that when you do the Kriya Yoga, you do the Chakra Shuddhi and the Kriya Yoga, when things are opening, when these psychic capacities are opening, you have, first of all, Agnya Chakra open and working, which is so important. Agnya Chakra has to be first to run this whole experience and not have any kind of damage or danger occur because of it, right? So when you do Chakra Shuddhi, the potential for the psychic capacity starts coming out, for sure. You're going to see it. The Kriya Yoga will help expand that, but it's the Mahakumbhaka, really, that puts the icing on the cake. When you achieve success in Mahakumbhaka, if you're meant to have any cities at all, you're going to start to see them there. They're going to start to come, and then they'll develop from there on if you keep practicing. The Mahakumbhaka takes the Chakra Shuddhi, the purification and opening of the chakras, and expands it into the opening of the bindus and the kumbhas, and that makes like for a very turbocharged experience of the energy body. And whatever capacity is latent or expressing in the energy body at that point become really big and really robust and really start coming out. See? So we have to have the grounding in the Adi Yoga for that. We have to have the grounding in the Agnya Chakra so we don't lose our way. But this is the way we start to develop the psychic capacities. Then if you have that kind of grounding in the body like that, then the mantra exercises, the mantra japa, the initiation into the deity, those energies can further expand those psychic capacities. But without that grounding, we can get really sick, you know, ill in the body and ill in the mind too, okay? So that's how we develop the psychic capacities, and for that, you really shouldn't explore it alone too much. You should talk to your guru about that one because, you know, first of all, you want to find out if it's in your destiny. Second of all, you'd like to know the right way to do it so you don't get imbalanced, okay?